All right, so a couple measurements here. This body is actually 1.59 thick. In actuality, it's 1.59 on this side and 1.56 on this side. So it's got a taper of about 0.04, which is fairly significant. So we'll correct that here. But what I've got is I've got my baby drum sander. It sands stuff up to about 12 inches wide, actually about 11 and 3/4. This body is just around 10, so this is perfect. I'm going to be able to run this right through and reduce its thickness. Now I need to reduce its thickness by the thickness of that top, which was 0.165. So I'm going for a measurement of 0.1435 or thereabouts. So if I'm off one way or the other, that will cause me some issues with my neck pocket. So if I nail it, that's great. If not, I would rather be a little bit thinner than thicker. Thinner, I can reduce this neck pocket, no problem. Thicker, I'd have to increase the neck pocket. So if I hit 143 or 142, I'm doing all right. So what happens is I just got to keep running this through. So what you do is, whether it be this or any other piece of wood, you just mark up, just put some pencil lines across the body, so as you're running it through, you can see where the material's coming off. So after this first pass or two, I should be able to see what's what. So it's going to get a little bit loud, so I'll probably throw some music on here. And I might fast forward it. You never know. That first pass is just to kind of get a skim coat. Now it should go through. Just as I suspected, this side's thicker than that side. You can see how there's no pencil marks here, but there's still pencil marks here. So we're starting to even that out, which is good. A little bit of pencil left here. None left here, so we're probably pretty close. So I'm just going to keep going down in little increments. Now it's dead on exact, 155 on each side. I got a little ways to go to get to the 1435 I need. Nailed it. Pretty good. Yep. Pretty close. It's depending on what yep, 1435. Cool. All right, so I'm back with having sanded my body to thickness, and the combined thickness of the body now and the top is going to be back to my original measurement, which is 1.59, 1.6. So a couple things I got to consider when I'm gluing up this top. One, I need a center line. for here because I need that center line to match the center line of my book match top. So the holes for the bridge were perfectly aligned with the pocket, which is right in the middle of the body. So that made it easy to establish at least one mark. So I just measured in between the two holes here and made a mark. The next thing I did is I measured between here and here and got that measurement and put a mark right in the middle, connected the two. Extended the line down to the end, which is important, and the front here, which is important because we need to be able to see that line once you glue the piece of wood onto it. So a couple other things to consider. My bridge holes for my replacement bridge don't exactly line up with the bridge that they provided, which is not, I wasn't surprised about. So I plugged them. So just in case I'm close, I'll have something good to bite into. The way I was laying out my bridge is it looks like I'm probably going to have to remove a little bit of material here. The other thing is since I'm not using a hot dog plate, I need to establish where this is, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill through the back of it and use a router with a bearing bit that will follow this cavity and route out this hot dog route from the back. That's not terribly difficult to do. What I did is I just took a measurement from the edge of the hole here to the edge, or excuse me, to the middle of that, which is 55 millimeters. And then I just transferred that mark to the back here. And so I have a little X marks the spot right there that I can just punch through. And it's really thin. It's not going to take much. Now, a thing to take into consideration is I've got this giant hole right here. So when my router bit is running around with the bearing, it's going to want to dip into that and causes problems. So what I'll probably end up doing is I'll just take a really thin piece of veneer, just tape it right in there so it'll bridge that hole. I've got another hole there, but I'm not too worried about that one. I might do that one too. That's the electronics hole. And away we go. So the other thing that I have to keep in mind is the depth and the routes for the pickups. That P90, as I was just talking about, and the other thing is a full inch depth, and so is this pocket here. So I'm going to have to, I think that pickup is going to take up most of that route, but I might have a little weird overhang there, but that doesn't matter because there's no pickup ring or anything like that, but the pickup will be perfectly sized going through this Bocote, so you'll never see any other little gap or anything that's underneath there. And I think that's about it for that. So what I've done is I've drawn a center line down my Bocote here, and I've laid this out and did a just kind of rough outline. And so what I'll do next is I'll just kind of rough cut around this, and then I'll glue this to the face. So one thing I discovered when I was putting that naphtha on is there was a small hairline crack that ran right through here. And this has been sitting around for a while, so I'm not surprised that it cracked. It's very brittle, but as you can see, it kind of comes right through there, and it's just ends right where this body is. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to put some glue in here and stabilize that, but it shouldn't be too obvious. And yep, that's about it. So I'll cut that out and we'll go from there. Okay, so here's where we're at. I didn't film me cutting out this on the bandsaw, but basically you go over to the bandsaw and you cut this out. So I don't know, a little bit past the shape. I gotta trim off a couple little areas, but I just wanted to make sure it was a little more oversized than I needed. So what the next step is I need to glue this on, and so I need to make sure that my center lines here match up the center lines that we were talking about earlier. And when you glue this up, the glue is very slippery, and this is going to want to have a tendency to move around when you clamp it. So what I typically do is I take a couple dowels, usually 4, but in this case I can only do 2, and I'll tell you why here in a second. And I will clamp this in at the exact spot that I want it, drill holes through the top and into the body, and then use these dowels as locating pins. So then that way what happens is I can pull the top off. I'll have these dowels sticking in there. When I go to glue the top off, I'll put glue on everything. These dowels will locate right on these holes, and it'll go back exactly where I had it before. And when I glue it up, it won't shift around. So I've marked 2 spots here. These will be under the bridge. I've got plenty of real estate there to hide these holes. Normally I would put a couple right here where the neck pocket goes when I'm building a guitar from scratch. But since this is already routed out, I can't do that. I guess I could make some really long ones, but I'm not going to do that. 2 should be sufficient. So first things first, I just got to make sure I line up everything. And since we put our marks down to the side here, it should be fairly straightforward to do. But this is a step that you want to check and recheck. And then after you clamp it, you want to check it again. So I got a pretty good witness line on the end grain from when I glued these together. Not only that, but with the marks that I made. This one's a little more difficult because it's not right up against the wood, so you got to have a decent eye, or you could use a straight edge to check that out. But I like what's going on here. So then it doesn't matter where you clamp it. So when I did that, the whole thing moved, and so which is not unusual. So I'm just going to lighten up the clamps a little bit. I'm going to move that right to where I want it. Clamp it there. Probably should have done it this way in the first place, but my brain is working differently since I'm trying to film this at the same time. I like that. That is still where I had it, so I feel good about that. And I'm just going to put another clamp here. Clamp it down. Still happy with that. And this didn't move, so just cinch them up a little bit. Now I feel comfortable that this is on my center line. So now all I got to do is just drill a couple holes. You don't have to go down very far. That should be it. And there they are. So now when I put these in, and I'll glue these in, they will locate right back over. So what I'll end up doing is I'll glue these in, put this back on, and then trim these flush, because when I go to clamp this whole thing down, I don't want anything sticking up. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll get prepared to glue up this top, and you can see me spread glue and put a crap load of clamps on here. Alright, be back. Alright, I'm ready to go here. So what I've done is I've cleaned the surface of both the body and the back of the top there. I got a crap load of clamps going here. Got my wood glue, just using Type Bond regular. And I've got some clamping cauls that I'm going to put long ways like that. This wood will have a tendency to cup like this, and so when I clamp it up like that, it'll keep it flat. Normally I'll have a backer board on here to help keep it flat and to help it not dent with the clamps. I don't have anything this small. I'm impatient and I'm not going to make one. This top is so stiff I'm not going to worry about it. But you don't need a lot of clamping force anyway. So I just have an old kind of pass card for some business, and I just cut some little notches in it, and that's going to be my glue spreader. So I'm going to put some glue on both surfaces, and away we go. I'm going to be careful not to put a ton in around here, just a little bit, and so I don't get a bunch of drips in there. This I don't matter, doesn't matter too much. This I'll be a little bit careful with. This I'll definitely be careful with. So I'm just gonna rip through that and you can watch. Having said that, I just dumped a bunch of glue right in there. Alrighty. So do that. And these little notches, they just kind of, it's almost like when you're laying tile or something like that. It makes sure you have like kind of an even spread. You're not heavier in one area than another. Try to get some of that out of there. Okay. So I got pretty good coverage. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because I'm going to have some glue on the other surface. This looks really good. There's some air bubbles happening because it's starting to seep in. So you've got a little bit of working time with this. I always kind of get a little freaked out, even though I've done this so many times, that it's gonna dry instantly. Oops, I put some there. I probably shouldn't have done that. I'll wipe that off. And in my haste, I forgot to cut that little corner off, but it's like, I put more on there. I was just getting ready to get rid of that. This is what I get for trying to film while I'm doing this stuff. Not the end of the world, though. Not the end of the world. That's okay. Yeah, see, I've been doing this a long time, and I still do stupid stuff like that. And I need some water. A bit of water on a rag here. Try to get rid of some of that right around the neck pocket. Yep, that'll be fine. Good. I don't need any water after all. Okay, cool. So now, the one thing I forgot to tell you is I cut these down, sand and flat, and I put a little chamfer around them so it makes it easier to locate them, to make them go back through the hole. There it is. Boom, right on there. Gonna double check, make sure nothing changed. Nothing has changed. Sweet, we're good to go. Yep, I'm gonna put that little one there and that one more in there. All right, excellent. So again, just little pressure, not much. I'll go around and cinch it all up later. So what I'll do is, before I get too many clamps on here after these two, I'm just going to double check my marks, make sure nothing has shifted, and it looks like it did a little bit. So just loosen them up. Even with the pins in there, sometimes it'll have enough clamping force to shift those pins a little bit. So push it right to where I want it, grab one of the clamps and just crank on it. And that held it right where I wanted it. Crank that one down a little bit. Let me just double check this side. I still feel pretty good about that. Crank both down. See if it did anything different. Still where I want it. Excellent. So now I'm just going to go around and put some more clamps on. I've heard the saying, you know, can never have enough clamps. Well, this is the truth. These clamps I'm using here, you've probably seen them in every single woodworking video on the internet. But these are from Harbor Freight. They're $3 a piece. And they are just as good as anything that's $15 out there that have red handles on them. So, in all my years, I probably have 50 of these. And I've had one break on me. I cut them up, modify them, do all kinds of stuff for them at $3 a piece. These rubber handles are great to grab onto when you're trying to torque something down. Over the years, the newer versions of them that they've come out with have been not as good, but they're not bad. I'm missing some of the rubber feet on a few of these. I've got a bag of those in there. A lot of times I take them off to do other things. So I got a lot of squeeze out happening here, which is good. Just gonna go around and check that. And I got a lot of squeeze out. So I'm gonna try to clean up a little bit of that. I'm not too terribly concerned with it. What I'll end up doing is pretty quickly here I'll flip it upside down so it doesn't continue to drip. Oh, there's a big one there. So anyway, I'm going to cut it off now and just continue to put a few more clamps on it, and I'll bring it back when we're done. Alright, there she blows. It's a bunch of clamps on there. How many I ended up with? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. And I also put a 25-pound bag of lead shot just right in the middle where I couldn't reach. I've got some long reach clamps I could have got in there, but they're a little rough on the wood, and I didn't want to dent this mahogany up. Oh, let me back out a little bit here. So yeah, that's that. So this is going to sit for 24 hours, maybe longer. And from there, we'll take it off and we'll trim it flush and then start thinking about the routes. The other thing I need to do is I need to cut out a matching piece and then bend it to fit the contour of the neck. So we've got the neck here. It's got this contour, and so I'm going to laminate a piece here, and I have to bend it to come up over that. So I will do that out of the cutoff piece of this, so it'll match. And away we go. I'll probably have to thin this down a little bit in order to accommodate the thickness of that, and I'll show you how I do that, if I have to do that. So, yeah, probably, yeah, next time I see you, I'll be doing that.